Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, taking care of business. Joining me today is Andreea Bourgeois, who is Director of Economics for the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. Thanks, Andreea, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, the CFIB released its latest Business Barometer today for May. Overall, confidence is down from the small business sector slightly. Can you talk a little bit about that, or what are the factors that brought down the confidence level and the sentiment?
Sure. Well, first of all, confidence, it's down when we look over the next 3 months or over the next 12 months. So it's kind of like forward looking, and we say down, economists, we like numbers. We're honestly, to put it in perspective, it only dropped a few points over the short term. So we're still at the very healthy levels for this season, for this point in time, recouping after 2 years of pandemic. So looking at the index 58.8, it's really a healthy level. Long-term index, it's around 61.6. Again, good confidence level. It has dropped. There are a lot of challenges for small businesses out there. When we look at the status quo, what we call the state of business currently, actually that one is looking very promising. So, it looks to be a quite active summer in terms of business confidence, a lot of activity on that regards. Now getting deeper, why is the confidence lower slightly? We are seeing pockets of strength and weaknesses. For once, Ontario has been showing signs of lower confidence. It's a large economy. It's being very much affected by labor shortages. In fact, we're seeing labor shortages rising at unprecedented levels, both in terms of skilled labor shortages and unskilled. So basically lack of people for certain areas. We're also seeing the retail sector showing signs of slowdown. Prices are what they are. Consumer confidence is being affected. So when you have these two, either the sector or the largest province being less confident, overall confidence would go down as well.
Okay, now you mentioned that the general state of business is on the upswing. Why do you think that that is taking place?
Well, we're seeing a lot of sectors that are seeing a lot of confidence gain. I'm going to point to the hospitality sector that has been very, very much affected by the pandemic. And all of a sudden, right now, they're at the beginning of what it looks to be a promising summer season. And their index have gained tremendously. At the same time, I'm going to point to two provinces out east that are seeing a lot of gains in confidence. So when you put two and two together, you're going to get a lot of tourism influx on the East Coast, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia specifically. Newfoundland is seeing a lot of gaining confidence, but because it's a province that has been for the past years very low, again, it's not going to be at the top level. So, you do have the state of business, it's promising. One of the positive things that we're seeing this month is the product input challenges. They seem to be somewhat lower. So either some of the distribution, challenges have just kind of, businesses have adjusted, or they have just found different distribution channels.
Yeah.
So is this the beginning of, better conditions for the next few months? It's hard to say right now, but definitely that's a positive side.
I want to talk about the labor issue. The barometer has shown that there is a good segment of the small business community that is planning to hire, but of course, we're dealing with this labor shortage issue. How bad is it, and how much of an impact does that have on business growth?
It's quite bad, and to put it in perspective, we do have a very solid over a third of businesses planning to hire. Now, what that number doesn't tell us, it doesn't tell us how many people they want to hire. So it doesn't mean that, we will hire a third of the workforce that was kind of laid off at the beginning of the pandemic. We just know that a third of businesses are planning to hire. But in reality, a lot of businesses have adjusted. We know from different other surveys that a lot of businesses are doing more sales online, more business online, that a lot of the workforce is working from home. So with that in mind, yes, hiring plans are on the upswing. It doesn't necessarily mean that we will regain all the jobs that they have lost. And where we're seeing, we have over 54% of businesses that they cannot find skilled labor, and about 40% of businesses they cannot find any kind of labor. That tells us that businesses have to find other ways to meet those labor demands.
And obviously, if you don't have the labor, that kind of puts a halt in your growth as a business.
Exactly. Production has to halt. Customer service is going to be affected. And most sectors that we're seeing that are having these labor concerns are those that are forward facing. You can only automatize that much. At one point, you need a human body to do certain tasks. Definitely, we will be having more data on that in the upcoming months.
Okay, super. Last question I had for you, Andreea, is in terms of some of the challenges. Obviously, we've talked about labor, but another challenge for the small business sector these days, of course, is fuel and energy prices. How big of an impact is that having?
It's a huge impact. I almost dread talking about it. So fuel and energy prices, they have been one of those factors that were always at the top level, affecting business. But right now, what we're seeing is the highest level it has ever been since we've been tracking this. And fuel, again, we have had around 70% of businesses complaining about fuel prices back in the 2011, years. But right now, it's been on the upswing constantly, and every month it gets worse and worse. So definitely, when you have 3/4 of businesses complaining that is a major cost, that impacts everything. That cuts down into their profit line, that cuts down into reinvesting in the business, allowing for extra training for people, hiring extra hands. So it's a huge challenge for businesses.
All right, super. Thanks, Andreea, for joining us today.
You're welcome.
All right, that was Andreea Bourgeois, who is Director of Economics for the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, taking care of business. Thanks for joining us today.